Lesson 33. Good morning, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy, and I'm here to cover another lesson with you. And today we're going to do Lesson 33. There is another way of looking at the world. There's another way of looking at the world. Do you know there's another way of looking at the world? There is another way. This is from A Course in Miracles. As a matter of fact, all these lessons are from A Course in Miracles. And we're doing A Course in Miracles Lesson 33. There is another way of looking at the world. Today's idea, there's another way of looking at the world, is an attempt to recognize, this is an attempt to recognize that you can shift your perception of the world in both inner and outer aspects. In its inner and outer aspects, you can shift your perception of the world in both its inner and outer aspects. A full 5 minutes should be devoted to the morning and evening applications. In these practice periods, the ideas should be repeated as often as you find comfortable. Though unhurried applications are essential, this idea should be repeated as often as you find comfortable, though unhurried applications are essential. Alternate between surveying your outer and inner perceptions, but without an abrupt sense of shifting. In other words, merely glance casually around the world you perceive as outside yourself. Merely glance casually around the world you perceive as outside yourself. And then close your eyes and survey your inner thoughts with equal casualness. Try to remain equally uninvolved in your inner perception and your outer perception, and to maintain this detachment as you repeat the idea throughout the day. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. The shorter exercise periods should be as frequent as possible. Specific applications of today's idea, there is another way of looking at the world, should also be made immediately when any situation arises which tempts you to become disturbed. Specifically apply this idea should any situation arise which tempts you to become disturbed. For these applications say, there's another way to look at this. There's another way of looking at this. You know, there's something upsetting you, something making you mad, some person that's making you mad, or you really, the truth is if there's somebody you're making yourself mad about, if there's somebody you're making yourself upset about, because nobody really can upset you. You're upsetting yourself through your interpretation of what they're doing. So you would really say, if you're feeling upset, you would tell yourself, you would remind yourself, I want another way of looking at this situation. I want another way of looking at this person. I want another way of looking at this. Say this today whenever you become disturbed. Remember to apply today's idea the instant you are aware of distress. The instant you are aware of distress, you should apply today's idea, which is what? There is another way of looking at the world. You would say there's another way of looking at this. There's another way of looking at this situation. There's another way of looking at this person. It may be necessary to take a minute or so to sit quietly and repeat the idea to yourself should you become disturbed. Just take a breath, sit down, tell yourself there is another way of looking at this son of a gun. There's another way of looking at this friggin' situation. There is another way of looking at this. Closing your eyes will probably help in this form of the application. So I'm going to say it a few times right now so we can get used to it. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at the world. There is another way of looking at this. There is another way of looking at this situation. There is another way of looking at this person. So remember, forward these videos to friends and associates that you think would benefit from them, and check me out at earlpurdy.com. And I'm putting more and more videos and classes out there for your assistance and my assistance, because I'm teaching what I most need to learn. So have an incredible day, mighty companion, and let peace extend from my mind and heart to yours.